I began the sketch with a general outline of the figure using a B2 pencil. First, I outlined the central axis to establish the symmetry of the body and the direction of the gaze. Then, using light strokes, I defined the position of the head, shoulders, and arms. It was important to me to convey not the physical, but the emotional fragility of the image. That's why the lines are elongated and slightly brittle. After that, I refined the contours of the face and added an asymmetrical fringe hiding one eye to create a sense of mystery. Gradually, I drew in the details, the headphones, subtle elements reminiscent of circuits, and lines on the body like the connections inside an android. I erased the excess strokes with an eraser, leaving only those that established the rhythm of the composition. When the figure was complete, I added subtle hints of wings and background space to indicate the direction of the light and the compositional balance. The sketch turned out lively and dynamic, a combination of the mechanical and the human, which became the basis of the entire painting. Once the sketch was complete, I moved on to the coloring stage. I started, as usual, with the background choosing rich, contrasting shades of turquoise and dark blue to create a sense of depth and coolness. By mixing acrylic with water, I achieved smooth transitions, with the highlights seeming to glow from within. Using a large brush, I applied the overall tone, then refined the edges with a medium brush, leaving a bit of texture in the brush strokes to break up the monotony of the background. Next, I moved on to the face. I made the skin tone pale, almost metallic, to emphasize the unnaturalness of the character, not quite human, but not quite machine either. I used a fine brush to refine the features, the eyes, mouth, and shadows under the nose and chin. I added a few gray-pink tones to prevent the face from looking lifeless and to retain a fragile human warmth. Then I worked on the clothing and body elements. I highlighted the light blue and blue details with thick acrylic brush strokes, creating a metallic sheen. I used a medium brush to lay down the basic shapes and a fine brush to emphasize the transitions and contours. Each line on the body became a kind of wire, a vein through which energy flows. I wanted the viewer to feel a pulsation and internal current animating this cybernetic organism. Next, I moved on to the hair. For it, I chose a warm, rich shade of red to create a sharp contrast with the cool background. I used a fine brush to create the upward flow of the strands, like a flash of energy or a pulse. This added expression to the composition. I emphasized a few strands with a nearly dry brush to convey texture. Once the main sections were ready, I moved on to the fine details. I carefully drew the headphones, antennas, shadows on the body, fine veins, and dots. Here, a fine brush was indispensable. Every detail added depth, making the image more technological and precise. Finally, I enhanced the contours with black to bring the composition together and make the drawing more graphic. Working with acrylic required patience. The paint dries quickly, so I applied the colors layer by layer, adjusting the opacity. Using a large brush, I added the final touches to the background light strokes of turquoise and blue to visually draw the figure into space. The painting sparkled with contrast, the cold world, and the hot inner energy. Critical assessment of the painting. The work is expressive, but with some areas that could be improved. I managed to convey the mood, a sense of loneliness, inner tension, and technological vulnerability. The contrast between the cold background and the warm elements, the hair, the orange shapes on the sides, creates the effect of an energy field, as if the character is connected to something powerful. However, the light and shadow on the body could have been worked on. It's currently a bit flat, especially in the shoulders and chest area. Adding soft transitions would have added more volume. Another issue is that the right side of the composition is a bit overloaded with color, distracting the eye. A softer gradient could have been added to enhance the center of the figure. The overall image is intriguing, a blend of cyberpunk and surrealism with elements of fantastical minimalism. This painting might appeal to those interested in themes of man and machine, inner isolation, and the synthesis of technology and emotion. It has a sense of silence after noise, as if the subject is alone in a digital space, listening to the music of the universe. If I were to revisit this work, I would add more reflections on the metal, perhaps a subtle halo of light behind the figure to give it more dimension. But overall, the result conveys the desired mood, a combination of fragility, strength, and inner energy hidden within a humanoid shell.